Henry's life was pretty uneventful at this point. He didn't have much to do. In fact, he spent most of his time trying to while away time. This one particular day, he decided, I'm just going to go over to my favorite cafe and get one of my favorite drinks, which happened to be this very refreshing smoothie. And so off he went, walking to his cafe with confidence, passing people on the street with this sense of pride and arrogance, looking at people like they really don't know who I am. They really, really don't know who I am. And of course, he continued to walk and to walk and to walk and look at the mirrors, at the windows as he passed by. When suddenly his attention was caught by two young girls across the street who were dancing frantically. He noticed that one of them had put their phone up against the window of another store. They were looking into the phone and they were dancing, just moving their bodies. Henry was absolutely intrigued. What was this thing that had their attention so much? What was this thing that was controlling them, causing them to dance without any care in the world, causing them to dance without any worry about safety or how their actions could be possibly affecting anybody else? They didn't care that they were dancing in front of somebody's store. They didn't care who that person was. They didn't care what that person's beliefs were. They didn't care if their provocative dancing was offensive. They danced and they danced, and the more they danced, Henry wanted to know, what is this thing that has them doing this? What is this thing that is controlling them the way it is? Henry was instantly reminded of a painting he had walked past, he had stumbled upon while he was with Graham, his childhood friend, many, many years ago. There was a beautiful, beautiful painting of a big clock on one of the street corner buildings, a very big clock. And in the face of the clock, it was written, "Time is one of those things in life you can never get back." One of the hands of the clock had an old man riding that hand, but I mean riding it. He was seated as this clock hand was moving, time was going. The old man looked old, frail, and tired. And if you got even closer to the clock, you could see in small writing all the things this old man had wasted his life doing, all the things he regretted, all the things he wished he had done but never got to doing, all the things he had done to waste time. Immediately, Henry thought of it. Another thing that stood out to him about this picture was at the top of the hand that old man was riding were the words written tick tock in inverted commas. He kept on thinking about that. Tick tock, tick tock. So he watched these girls dancing and dancing and dancing and dancing, whiling away time. Tick tock, tick tock. And so he decided, no, I'm not going to go to my favorite corner store. I'm going to sit here, my favorite cafe. I'm going to sit here at this particular cafe and watch them. And so he did. He sat there, ordered a drink, and watched them with a smile on his face. Nothing perverse or inappropriate, so to speak. No. He sat and he smiled at the brilliance of all of this, the brilliance of the app, TikTok. Who was this creator? Who was this person who had single-handedly created this app, knowingly or unknowingly, that would waste people's time? Not in a sarcastic, I look down on this app way. No. Seriously. It was wasting people's time. This life we only get once. Once. People were spending it looking down into a camera. TikTok, TikTok. Time was passing by. In fact, Henry sat there thinking, if time was a man, he honestly would have passed them by and they would have never known it. They would have continued to dance unaware, unashamed. They just didn't care. They danced and they danced and they danced. TikTok. That was it. That was it for Henry. TikTok. That was his new place. That was his new space. Henry needed to be a part of this. He needed to know what this was about. He needed to be the person on the other end controlling. Days after his trip to the cafe, he was at home getting ready to watch a little TV when he stumbled across a news bulletin. Breaking news. A child has just died from a TikTok challenge. The story began to explain how the parents were absolutely devastated. They didn't see this coming. They thought, or their child thought, that this was some innocent challenge. An innocent challenge that had now resulted in this child's death. They couldn't believe it. They absolutely couldn't believe it. They were in the height of their grief. They were shocked. They were terrified for other parents. They just couldn't believe it. Henry watched the story. He watched, he read, he listened to how much this child had become controlled by TikTok. He listened to it. He sat there at the edge of his seat like, no, I need a part in this. I somehow need to get involved in this. I want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of this. And so he was. He was a part of it. Henry immediately went and opened a profile on TikTok. Henry, what are you up to now? What are you up to? He remembered that there was this challenge that resulted in somebody's death. And although he wasn't much one for blood and gore and just this sinister, sadistic type of Quentin Tarantino type of vibe, there was something about that story that he could stomach. There was something about this teenager's death that he could stomach. There was something about it that he low-key liked. He now wanted to figure out, how can I do this? How can I be the controller? How can I be the one holding the remote, metaphorically speaking? How can I be the person in control? And so he decided, no, I'm starting my own challenge. Some way, somehow, I'm going to start my own challenge that is going to control people and have people being unaware and not caring the way those girls did not care. Henry had this picture on his desktop, a picture that was there for many years, a picture that he absolutely loved. It was of some random man who was walking across a bridge that was above a mountain valley. And so this picture to him represented bravery, strength, freedom, this not caring. It represented absolute trust. Here he was standing on this bridge, trusting that it would hold his weight, trusting that he wouldn't fall to his death, trusting that he was going to be okay. Absolute trust. And so there it was, his challenge, absolute trust. He set out to take some of the riskiest selfies, kayaking without a vest, mountain climbing without ropes, taking pictures of himself in dangerous neighborhoods late at night, doing the most, anything you can think of that was dangerous. Henry was there. Hashtag absolute trust. Hashtag absolute trust. Before he knew it, his following was growing, and so was the hashtag. Many people were participating. Within 3 weeks of his absolute trust challenge, there it was again. Headlines, breaking news. The reporter described the incident as mass accidental suicide. People were dying. People were dying in the name of hashtag absolute trust. They were doing the craziest things to participate in this challenge, to up the ante. They were doing it. They loved it. And it didn't end there. The more they did it, the more fired Henry got, the more excited Henry got, the more he wanted to be a part of it, the more he needed to do more, the more he wanted to have more control. And so he decided, well, that's it. Next challenge. I need to up it. And so he did. He did. A Russian roulette challenge. Hashtag absolute trust. He trusted that he wouldn't die. And so he did it. He needed to know, would people follow me there? All the way there. Would people follow me there? And yes, they did. They followed him. They did as he did. The challenges got more and more and more and more extreme. Henry was loving it. At this point, it was being talked about in the news like, my goodness, every channel, every news outlet was reporting on this mass accidental suicide. These people who are participating in these challenges, the hashtag absolute trust challenge, and were dying everywhere. People were scared. People were scared. Parents were scared. The government was scared. People were scared. The police were scared. They were concerned. They were reaching out to people on TikTok, asking them, please, guys, help us find the creator of this absolute trust challenge. Help us work together so that we're able to, help us work together so that we're able to address this problem. This is a serious problem that needs serious attention. Help us. They kept on appealing to people on TikTok. People were scared. They were scared. No, you don't get it. They were scared. Imagine that. Mass accidental suicides. People were scared. In his personal life, at this point, Henry was on cloud 9. To say he felt powerful and invincible was an understatement. I'm tempted to tell you he couldn't believe what was going on, but he could. He could believe it. He trusted in the stupidity. He trusted in the stupidity of other people to continue to follow and do these things. He also trusted that they would never catch him out. That in fact, none of these pictures were real. None of these pictures were real. He used filters, Photoshop. He doctored these pictures to the point that people couldn't tell. He wasn't risking his life like this. Nuh-uh. No way. He was not. Henry. At this point in his real active life, off of social media, his mother had told him, Henry, things are getting very tough. They're getting tough, my child. You're going to have to get a job. Get yourself a job. I need help. I'm going to need you to play your part in this house. And so she managed to get him a job interview at a gallery through some connections. And so Henry went for that job interview. The whole time he was there, he was irritated. He was disgusted. He was frustrated. Like, what is it that why do I have to be here interviewing for this job? Do these people not know who I am? Do they not know how much control I have in this world? Do they not know that I am the person behind all of this chaos, this mini apocalypse? Do they not know? And so he sat there through this interview, giving his answers. At the end of the interview, the owner of the gallery thanked him. But there was something that unsettled her about Henry. There's something she just didn't like. There was something she couldn't put her finger on. And she decided, absolutely not. This man is not coming anywhere near my gallery. And so, of course, he didn't get the job. He did not get the job. Henry was livid. He was humiliated. He was enraged, quite frankly. Go through that whole process only not to get the job. How humiliating is that? And so he decided, well, that's it. That's my next challenge, LinkedIn. And so he opened a profile and, of course, lied about everything. Lied through his teeth, promising people jobs, asking them to come in for interviews, doing what he could to bring people right here, the tip of his finger, only to drop them like they were nothing, only to make them feel the way he felt when he was rejected. only to make them feel as hopeless and as helpless as he did when he did not get the job. He needed somebody to know how he felt. He needed that to happen. Oh no, she was not going to get away with what she had done to him. But of course, that lasted temporarily. That was just about getting his feelings out in that moment. Henry was on to the next thing. Instagram. Now at this point, this mass accidental suicides was still being talked about in the news. Henry made it a point to listen to every news bulletin, to read every article, whatever he could get his hands on, newspapers, anything that was talking about this mass suicide, this hashtag absolute trust TikTok challenge. Henry was there. He was obsessing over it. He was enjoying it. It was a sense of praise to him. He loved it. He felt godly. He felt powerful. Henry. This was being talked about. When I say talked about, I mean politicians, business people, societies, men of God, representatives of the church were talking about it. Behavioral specialists, psychologists, counselors, everybody was commenting on this new challenge. People were talking about the effect and the impact of social media, how one has to be how one has to be careful, how one has to be vigilant about what content their children are consuming, how one has to just be on the lookout, this, that, and the other, help authorities, let's see if we can get this person. Now that at that point, of course, Henry had closed his profile. It had gotten too hot. He knew eventually they'd stumble on his profile. A profile, by the way, he had titled or used the handle The Mask. Picture of Jim Carrey, Cameron Diaz dancing while he wears the mask. In a very cringe and cavalier manner, posted bio, somebody stop me. He closed that profile. He knew it was too hot to have that profile. So at this point now, he's looking at Instagram. Henry remembers reading an article where the reporter had asked a representative, a man of God, about all these things that were happening. They needed a comment from the church. And this pastor had referred to Henry, the mask, and people like the mask, as the Prince of Persia. He spoke about the book of Daniel. In the Bible, he spoke about the story where Daniel had a vision that a man who he believed to be Jesus, the pastor, according to the way Daniel had described him, believed to be Jesus, came to Daniel in a vision and explained to him that, Daniel, God has long heard your prayers. He had sent me since, but unfortunately, I was held up by the Prince of Persia. He blocked me for 21 days. I couldn't get to you. As it is, I've left Archangel Michael fighting. So I'm here to tell you what the Father has said, and then I'm going back. I'm going back to help Michael. The pastor referred to him as the Prince of Persia, the waster of time, the blocker of progress. There was something about that Henry liked. There was something about that sat very comfortably with Henry. He liked it. He liked the title. And so, of course, when he opened up his Instagram profile, his handle was at the Prince. The Prince. All the content that Henry posted on his profile was provocative, salacious, inappropriate, outlandish, crazy, offensive, hateful. He did the most. Anything you can think of, from posting half-naked women doing the most, people getting into fights, domestic violence, gang videos, videos of bestiality, videos of terrible fights, videos of pregnant women giving birth, questionable quotes, videos inciting violence, hate. Oh, he posted it all. And he was posting almost every 2 hours, and his followers became addicted. They were addicted to how much this person behind the profile didn't care. They were addicted to the fact that the content got worse and worse, crazier and crazier. It was a train wreck that you just couldn't take your eyes off. They were refreshing their pages constantly, checking, has he reposted? Has he posted something new? What has he got to say? They were on his page within months. He was up to over 2 million followers. By the end of the year, he was sitting at 4.5 million followers, posting the craziest of crazy content. And of course, he brought the challenges back. He brought them back to the platform. Why not? If I can get away with what I've been getting away with, if I can be anonymous and do what I'm doing, why should I stop the challenges? There was control in it all, wasn't there? And that's what he was looking for. That was what he was thriving on. That was what he lived for, the control. The control of it all. And so he continued to post and post and post. And of course, people were talking about it left, right, and center. Now the police got smart this time. They never let on, not even to the public, that they had eyes on this profile. That they were watching to see what was going on. Not only were they watching, they were building an active case against this individual. They were doing all of their research and chasing this person down, and they were hot on his heels. He didn't know a thing. He didn't know a thing. He kept on posting and doing what he pleased. No consequences. He didn't care. He didn't care who he hurt. Some of the video footage that he posted on his page was footage taken by some of the TikTokers who had died. Henry didn't care. Henry didn't care. And the fact that people were talking about it made him feel even more powerful. He did not care. Fast forward a couple of months later, the police finally get their hands on Henry. They catch him. They catch Henry. They've got him. No bail, they've got him. They have built a solid case against Henry. Inciting violence, criminal activity, suicide. Oh, they had got him. They had absolutely got him. One of the news reporters had the opportunity to sit down and speak with the behavioral specialist who got the opportunity to sit with Henry to find out why. What did Henry have to say for himself? And this is what the specialist said. She told the reporter, Henry's a monster. I feel it's only fitting that I start with that. Henry's a monster. There's no other word for it. He is a monster. But please understand this. This monster was fed by over 4.5 million people. They encouraged him. They motivated him. They egged him on. This monster was fed by 4.5 million people. That was his power. That was the power that was given to him. So although yes, he is a monster, there's a bigger conversation that needs to be had. What were these people thinking? What switch went on or off that would cause people to participate and go along with this type of content willingly? Her thing was, I understand Henry and the terrible things he has done, but can we also talk about the 4.5 million people who egged this person on, who encouraged him, who supported him? Let's talk about those people. She also went on to say, listen, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm a godly woman. I won't do it. I won't sit here and pretend that I'm godly. What I will say to you is that without a doubt, I am convinced that there is a spirit in this thing called social media. There is a spirit, a very evil spirit, very wicked spirit in the social media. Am I saying the platform itself is evil? Absolutely not. I think some of these platforms are essential. I think they've helped businesses. I think they've helped people. I think they have been positive in many ways if used correctly. But I want to reiterate the fact that I believe the devil himself is using these platforms too. She spoke about some of the things Henry described, some of the DMs he had gotten, how people were encouraging him. He read some of them out. He read them with pride. She got to hear how people absolutely loved Henry. She used the words, the devil is using these platforms too. She ended the interview by saying, I asked Henry why. And do you want to know what his response was? Why not? Why not? Why not? She asked Henry, so what did you gain, Henry? All these deaths, all this chaos, this mini apocalypse, so to speak, Prince of Persia. What did you gain from all Prince of social media, likened to the Prince of Persia? Why? What did you gain from all of this? And he said, time. I took from these people something they will never get back. They can hold me in this prison until I die. I still took from them something they will never get back. And you can tell them I said that.